Paddock RallyCast. This is episode 47. This week we talk with Dantes Jr., who braved the wintry conditions of the Sno Drift Rally, round 1 of the American Rally Association National Rally Championship. We talked about the freezing temps causing multiple technical difficulties, crazy road conditions, and how his friends in the Tower City race team did at the event. We finish up with our take on WRC's Monte Carlo rally that also wrapped up this past weekend. This is Open Paddock, the RallyCast. Well, hello and welcome to another edition of the Open Paddock RallyCast. I'm your host, Mike Shaw, and with me is our co-presenter who's currently holed up like a bear waiting for the thaw, Ian Holmes. Ian, how you doing?
$17.28, $17.29. Oh, hi, Mike. I'm just, as you say, we're holed up in the cold here, and I'm just counting my life savings to see if I can afford an Audi R8. Because, as you know,
I think you're a little ways off with the $17 and change there.
Yeah, just a touch. Because, as you know, I was offered the navigator seat in an R8 at the Minnesota Winter Rally by a fellow Brit, Keith Walker. That was a week and a half ago. I mean, what can I say about that car? I mean, this is one of the world's preeminent supercars. It's a car that at motor shows, it sits on a dais and you can't get anywhere near it. You know, on the racetrack, it's won its class at all the world's major endurance races. But is it any good as a TSD car? No.
You guys kind of failed, huh?
We finished dead last, but that didn't matter. You know, we started off okay, and we had a good first stage, but the second stage was like it was on loose gravel. And there were lots of big stones being thrown up by local yeehaws in their trucks and stuff off to their ice fishing houses. So Keith was a bit nervous about stone chips on the paintwork and smashing a windscreen. You know, $4,000 to replace a windscreen on an Audi R8, and there was also the worry of getting stones in the ceramic brakes and. Let's just say you don't want to know how much that it would cost to have a brake job.
It's a supercar that really to own it isn't so super.
Well, I mean,
I guess if you're in the hot, dry climate with a pristine environment around you where no dust or dirt or rocks or what, that's kind of anti-rally, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, like it's the same with a lot of car enthusiasts. You know, you love to drive, you love cars, and if you love to drive your car and you love to show it off, then you take it places where you wouldn't normally take it. You know, I've done that with the MG, and I'm pretty certain I will do that with the Model T Ford at some point. You know, but it was fantastic. It was an incredible car, and the scenery on the Minnesota Winter Rally, I mean, it was fantastic. I mean, it reminded me of Rally Sweden in places. You got this pristine stretch of snow-packed road with banks on either side, weaving its way around the trees. It was fantastic.
Oh,
wonderful day.
Yeah.
I mean, I say we finished dead last with about 140,000 points, but that really didn't matter.
Well, that's one of the things that's cool about TSDs that people don't realize. Like, it's a road rally, not a stage rally, but you get to see some of those beautiful areas. The people that organize these really pick awesome roads. Absolutely,
yeah. Tim Winker out of Duluth, he organized it, and yes, big credit to Tim for coming up with these roads. It was fantastic, and Laurie, my wife, and I, we actually went out and drove those roads the day after just for pleasure because they were beautiful. It was,
and you probably didn't know that was an awesome route to go beforehand, but after doing this rally, now you're like, wow, I need to remember this route as a scenic drive.
Absolutely, yeah. Yep. Great stuff.
All right, well, that's awesome that you got to go ride in the R8. Sorry that you got dead last, but we're going to talk to somebody that got to speak with some winners over the weekend, and that's Dantes Jr. So we'll be right back with Dantes. Al, welcome back to the show, the not quite, but almost substitute voice of ARA. How you doing, man?
Good evening. Nice to talk to you.
So you actually got to brave the conditions that were the Sno Drift Rally this weekend. Just quick overview. It's your first time there. What'd you think of the experience?
Very, very cool. Pardon the pun. But yeah, first time in Atlanta, Michigan. Really cool setup organization. It ran like clockwork. The geography of the actual rally is amazing. It's kind of like a flower with three blooms on it, with Atlanta being in the center and has all these amazing stages scattered perfectly around the town and the two neighboring towns of Lewiston and Hillman. I'd always heard it was compact, but it's amazing. Every stage is within probably 10 or 15 minutes of Atlanta, so that was really cool.
It sounds like a lot of fans came out too.
That was insane. They have this spectator guide that's distributed all over town, and it's a square fold, and you open it up, and the entire rally, every stage, every marshal spot or intersection is labeled on it, and it's distributed, and there's not a single spot that you could go to where there isn't somebody or a spectator. Extremely well behaved. The town loves to have the rally there. I didn't see any spectator problems, and I went to quite a few unofficial spectator spots, and it was it's quite the community. It's quite the experience. You know, everybody was it 24 below on the second day, and still the park expose was packed. So it was really, really awesome.
Obviously, even just going into the event, we know it's a winter rally, but there is already some severe weather. Just people trying to get there.
Yeah, we had a 5 hours north of Atlanta. So it's kind of strange. You can drive 10 hours across Michigan and still not touch the corners of it. But we ran a convoy out of Lance. My little brother Elwood Nemi was competing in his first national he's got a Volkswagen GTI. So we left Lance area, and then we were supposed to rendezvous with Adam Van Dam and Jake Carlson with the Volkswagen Rabbit, but Adam has a history of being a little slow in preparation, so his meet you at the bridge turned into, hey guys, come over to my house and help me load up the trailer. So by the time we did finally get to the bridge, he's like, okay, I haven't eaten in 2 days, and can we stop for food? And okay, so the ride down, not too bad.
You did better than those trying to fly there, because between Matt and our friend, the photographer Tedrick, and other folks, man, there were flight delays galore. Because you have to route through Detroit to get there, and oh man, it was just horrible. There were just constant delays. Was it Alex Gelsomino? His luggage got lost, so he ended up having to borrow a helmet and a race suit from somebody, I believe. Thankfully got that taken care of, but wow, it's crazy, crazy weather in that region. But glad you guys got down there okay, though.
Yep, we had no incidents other than just getting the entire Tower City race team together. So once we got that done, everything was good. Registration was good, and everybody went out for dinner and had a good first night.
So, we had about, I think it was like 32, 33 entries or something like that for this event. Is that right?
I think 34 started.
Okay, 34 started. I remember there were a couple of issues that people were adapting to the ARA regulations, because it's the first time that Sno Drift has been part of ARA. It was definitely the one that had to cram the most, because it was kind of a last-minute deal for them to get on the schedule. But it sounds like, as you were saying, the organizers, really did a good job making sure the event was going to run smooth. I know there's some folks that had issues like not having the turbo monitor things hooked up, or the access ports. Is that what it was?
Yeah, the the turbo cars are required to have an 1/8-inch NPT fitting or an access hole near their intake manifold, and a few of them didn't, but before the end of tech inspection, they had it all sorted out. It was my first time going to tech inspection and having fun. Usually as a competitor, that's usually your most high stress point before the event, because what did I forget? What did I remember this, or any small thing that you could have missed could disqualify you from the event. And I went and spent 4 hours there, just gathering news, meeting the teams, checking out the cars, writing notes. It's really cool. The organizers and the volunteers actually brought kind of like a potluck. So there was even food there for themselves and the competitors. It was a very cool environment.
So, anything stand out for you? I know one of the things you were trying to get at the beginning before the rally started was kind of some livery information. Did you have a specific favorite?
Probably the scary, I shouldn't say scary, but there was Mike Przicki there. He showed up with a brand new build. It was a two-door Jeep Cherokee. And back in the 80s and 90s, he ran a Jeep Scrambler with a big block in it. And he ran it in four-wheel drive. And once Rally America was around, they don't allow big blocks. And ARA doesn't allow big blocks. So he built this Cherokee. I interviewed him. I believe he was 66 years old. But I helped him take the Jeep off the trailer. And just as the vehicle came off the trailer, the fuel pump died on it. And 4 hours later, they still were not able to get it to run. They worked on it all night, and then 10:30 a.m. on race day, they finally got a ECU trigger to get the fuel pump to start the vehicle. And like I said, it was his first race back in a very long time. So that was one of the highlights and lowlights of tech inspection was getting to watch that go down, but when you see a 66-year-old rally driver excited and then, his entire hopes dashed on a brand new build that he had done and then, spoiler alert, but he actually finished the event. So that was very, very cool.
And that was a lime green color, was it?
Yep. He had,
you would certainly notice that one in the snowbanks.
Yeah. Yeah, and he had the same livery on his Jeep Scrambler back in the 90s, so it was...
Oh, right.
As soon as you came around the corner and seen that Jeep, you knew exactly whose it was.
So you obviously got a chance to go out and see the stages and drive on a couple of them. That's usually part of the process there. Give us an idea of what the roads were like.
Yeah, I'd gone out since Matt Kalish wasn't there yet because of his troubles at the airport. I went out by myself, and like I said, they had that amazing map. I got out there and I started driving the roads, and we're doing 30, 35 through the woods, and those snowbanks, they were 2 or 3 feet tall, but man, those trees are so close to the road, and you're going up and down valleys and over hills, and it's spooky. The roads are amazing, but man, to be able to drive on that ice and snow at any faster than 35 it's got to be a trip. I know I wasn't jealous of the guys going out there to do battle.
Yeah, but you had the nice snowbanks. I mean, that can definitely be a help in some ways, right? You can bounce off them, but on the other hand, they can kind of suck you in a bit, right?
And it's really interesting, and I was told this back in 2012 when I first bought my car, because of that previously competed at Snowdrift, and the old guard will tell you, and they just keep repeating it, as slow as fast, slow as fast. If you don't get stuck in a snowbank, you'll win by 10 minutes. It's that simple. Don't get stuck in a snowbank, and you'll win. Well, being younger, you don't listen, but you get to the end of the event, and you look at the results, and there's nobody who completes the event without getting stuck in some snowbank, but that's how the separations are. As you can see, oh man, if I hadn't been in that snowbank for 5 minutes or 6 minutes, I would have won. And every single competitor will say that. It's like, oh, I could have won if I hadn't done this or I hadn't done that. And the old guys just smile and go, yeah, told you, slow is fast.
That's awesome. Well, so get ready to run things, and you're there at that park expose, and I'm sure you're getting all ready to announce the round one of the American Rally Association National Rally Championship presented by Amsoil, as I tried to get you to remember several times, and some technical difficulties, it seems, huh?
Yeah, the pressure had been building for a couple weeks. It was finally game time. I'd done all my prep. I had my notes. I let all the teams know, 3:15, be by your cars. I'm coming by. Be ready. We're going to be doing this fast and furious. And they were all queued up, and we got the equipment ready, and we did a mic check, and we got the calibration. And Matt looked down, and the batteries were already dead. It was less than maybe 3 minutes long, and we were done. And it was just heartbreaking. And the teams had a drivers' meeting at 3:30, so Matt ran inside and tried to warm the equipment up so that we could get a live broadcast going before the actual start of the rally. And still 45 minutes later, the equipment still hadn't powered up, and the fun was on.
Welcome to the world of trying to do live media. It is not easy, man. It is not easy. But you did the prep work, so that's cool. So, obviously, Park Expose, if I remember right, I was reading that it was like one of the coldest Park Expos on record. I can't remember if that was day 1 or day 2, but man, that looked pretty darn frigid. I believe you had frozen goat beard, you called it?
Yeah, the goatsicle.
Goatsicle, that's what it was, the goatsicle. Oh, man.
Yeah, it was the town of Lewiston. It's a very, very small town, but well, I don't know how it looks when it's not covered in snow, but they had the center lane in town got a big median in it, and the side streets look like almost like old Western saloon type buildings and tall department stores from the 1800s, and it looked really nice. They had all the contingency sponsors lined up with huge flags, and
awesome.
You walked around the corner to see the cars, and it's like, wow, that's really nice. And then here comes a 40-mile-an-hour breeze with the wind chill, and it's like, go. I thought I was pretty proud of the new hat I'd gotten just for Snowdrift, and then I realized, the 1,000 spectators had gotten the same hat as well.
Not so unique anymore. How well?
Yeah, only the best in Uper fashion.
There you go. All right. Well, obviously the crazy wind, crazy snowbanks. Tell us some kind of day 1 results. What were the happenings after day 1 there?
Day 1, not too much.
I remember, I think it was day 1 that somebody had a stick that went into their radiator, but they still kept going.
Yep, that was actually the Jeep of Przicki. He, I don't know if it stopped him on stage, but yeah, we seen the next day when he was at Expose, he was too scared to pull the stick out, kind of like when you see the old Western movies when a guy gets shot with an arrow, they don't want to pull the arrow out or all the blood will come out. So he had added stop leak and stuff to the radiator and hoped that it would seal around the stick. that was a little different. I've had 3 incidents on similar when I've been rallying, but I use a different product, and I've had very good success. And, well, I should say I've never put a stick through the center of it. But.
Well, I was gonna say, well, there you go, kids. Just remember, leave the stick in there. it seems to work. He did make it to the finish, that's for sure.
It's kind of hard to overheat when it's 24 below.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, it does need to have some sort of fluid running through there, but not a lot. Oh, man. So, day 1, anything else that stood out as far as, isn't it the night of day 1 where that big bonfire alley stage runs?
No, that stage is actually the very last stage of the rally. So that's...
I see.
Yep.
Well, it's nice to see it back because it disappeared for a year, if I recall. So that was cool to see that one back. I guess, what was kind of some of the most memorable moments for you being at this rally? Again, your first time there. Some of the competitors. They're kind of from the same region.
Yeah, we did the Park Expose, and then the sun went... Well, that was started at 3:30. And the Sno Drift organizers adapted, and they said, well, would you like to announce our start line, kind of like their ceremonial start. So I went over in the Red Bull truck, gave me a microphone, and I started doing that, and we got to the fifth car, and their generator exploded on the Red Bull truck. And I was
Whoops. Boy, you're having all kinds of luck with electronic equipment over the weekend.
Oh, gosh, it never rains, but it pours, eh? Good God.
Yeah, they didn't let me drive the media Jeep either. I don't know what's up with that.
Yeah, right, huh? I'm kind of
Just
worried about this
code
podcast
me.
now.
Yep.
Oh, man. So you got to do some intros there, at least for a little bit. It seemed like to start out with that Barry McKenna just kind of, him and his R5 was just kind of dominating right from the start there. I didn't think power would make a big difference in this rally. Like you said, slow is typically fast, but he definitely was well ahead of Peter Fatella and the guys in the Subarus.
Yep. Yeah, we went out to stage 3, and Turbo Terra and Jalopy Jake were out there, some of the famous photographers from the Midwest. But yeah, we set up on a real nice corner, and immediately, stage 3, you could see McKenna came through real clean. Fatella was 2 minutes behind him, and then all of a sudden there were different cars missing. There was already 2-minute gaps here and there. Snowdrift, even with the good amount of snow in the snowbanks this year, there was still super, super slippery. And third stage, it was already dark. There was 6 stages total on the first night. So they ran 3 stages, came in for a 45-minute service. Kiana had gone out on the first stage. I think she only made it 8 corners before her car actually shut off or there was a failure.
Oh.
She wasn't too happy about it. You start a national event and make it 8 corners and you're done. She wasn't too excited about going out after service. She could have, with a penalty, but with the cold temperatures and the wind blowing and the car already leaving them out in the woods once on the day, she was ready to bring it in for the night and restart in the morning. Yep. And later on in the event, I don't know if her exhaust fell off or what, but all of a sudden her Fiesta was sounding pretty darn fierce. You were expecting to see something big, huge, and mean coming around the corner, and here's Kiana just flying by. Change of pace for her.
Well, so, again, kind of, I guess, getting back into Barry McKenna and Leon Jordan. So they got their Fiesta R5, and it didn't quite make it to the end. I think I heard something about transmission. Do you have any more insight as to what caused their transmission issue?
No, I talked to a few people on their team. Half of them said it was perfect. The other half gave me a funny look, and I think they were just hoping that it would make it through the event. And later on, we find out that it didn't make it through the first loop of the second day. But we didn't know what their issue was because their times were good. Everything looked good as they were coming by us, and not much to report there.
I think Leon Jordan said it best. It's like, was it third gear? Sounded a bit crunchy. Crunchy is never a good description for a transmission.
Those gears spinning around inside of a transmission, and you hear crunchy in there. Bad things happen quickly.
Yeah, definitely. But those that did make it to the end, just kind of go through some of the results here, because I guess one of the other challenges you guys had is ARA is now doing their own new database system for all the scoring, right? So I think a lot of people are like going, oh, let's go to the rally data and see if we can get times. Oh, it's not there. Where are the times? Let's go to ARA's website. Well, they don't have it quite there yet either. And again, a lot of this stuff was kind of last minute because Snowdrift happened sooner than what they had planned their first event to be, which is going to be 100 Acre Wood, right? So I'm guessing there was a little bit of scrambling to try and get everything into that new system.
Yeah, and I got to I got the ugly scene of getting to watch the wizard behind the curtain and the 8 people sitting there till I believe it was after 12:30 at night on the first day, just crunching numbers, reviewing time cards, verifying everything was right before the scores came out. And, you think, okay, it's a time card, you fill it out, everything's good, punching the numbers, ching ching, rock and roll. Well, once you start running it through a software, and if you're going to do it correctly, the new software they're using actually kicks out flyers. It's going to show, okay, you were this many seconds per mile, and then all of a sudden you'll see a 1-minute flyer and then go, okay, let's get this time card out and review it. And that's the thing, was they were working the bugs out with that to make sure that everything was good. And it was slow, it was painful, but at the end they knew they did it right. And
so it's got kind of like a built-in like error checking system, so it noticed that something that looked a little out of whack.
Yep, and it kicks it out bright yellow and goes, you might want to look at this.
That is really cool, actually. I'm very impressed to hear that.
And the old system is, the time stands unless somebody protests it. Well, nobody likes to protest another competitor, and not all of us are looking at another competitor's times. We're just, you don't realize, oh, he got a 2-minute flyer, and that's why he beat me. And the only way you're gonna get that fixed is to protest them. And well, the rally family, most of us don't like to protest each other.
Well, let's kind of just go over some of the results. So with the McKenna team, McKenna Motorsports being out of the mix, that brought Peter Fatella and Dominic Jozwiak, I don't know how you pronounce his last name, I'm going to butcher it, but Dominic, we'll just say that, in first place overall. Cam Steele and Preston Osborne, who we'll have on the show tomorrow, we're going to do a separate show with them, came in second from ODD Racing. And number 81, Travis Neese and Matt James, they end up in third overall, which I think that's their first overall podium. So congratulations to Travis Neese on that. And I believe he finished the second day mostly with just 2-wheel drive. So
yeah,
a big challenge for him on that one. Now, we don't have an open 4-wheel drive trophy class anymore, right? So it's just overall results for the Nationals. I think the same for regionals, too. So a few less trophies to give out, but it seemed kind of redundant at times when you had most of the open 4-wheel drives tended to finish on the overall. So limited 4-wheel drive, of course, Cam and Preston in first, Travis and Matt in second, and then in third place in limited 4-wheel drive, we had Ella Barta, I think you say it, and Karina Roche in a Pro Drive. Was that a Group N Subaru from Pro Drive?
Yep, his name is actually Ellie Barta.
Ellie Barta, okay.
Really cool guy, extremely personable. I'd done a little background work on him before I met him, and the whole weekend he was extremely nice. Never had any kind of ego about who he was, but man, I hope to see him around some more. He's a very nice, and not to mention the car. The car was actually previously campaigned by David Higgins in the British Rally Championship. So. Oh,
really?
Ooh.
Well, that's a pretty cool car. I guess I'd have to look up like the serial number on that one or something and see which Pro Drive build it is. So, where, I guess, did he travel here to compete in this event? Does he live in the States now? Give us a little bit on Ella.
Ellie is
Ellie,
actually,
sorry.
He owns a stunt company for movie productions. He's done
kick ass.
Is it White Boy Ricky or something like that, the newest movie? But he's done work with Robert Redford and Matthew McConaughey and all those. And his co-driver girlfriend is a very famous stunt woman. Does a lot of stunt double work and stuff like that. And he had purchased this car off Christian Falapa, who was on Hoonigan's Wanted, who was a previous rally driver. He did a couple rallies out of Detroit. So all a small circle, it all worked around, but he was able to buy this car. I don't know if it's painted or wrapped, but he purposely did. It's a throwback livery to the old 90s Impreza except done in red instead of blue. So it's really nice. The ECU sounds amazing. Like even I got a video of him at the Super Special where he's going through the full launch control with the anti-lag on it, and it just sounds spot on, perfect. And the coolest thing is he finished so well, but doing all my work at the ATCs and MTCs, there were so many reports of him just stopping and pulling people out, pulling out two-wheel drive cars and stuff like that. So for a guy
that's so cool
to finish well, even after pulling out cars, and like I say, he had no ego. He was out there to have fun and complete his first rally, and it was so awesome to see they were able to do it. So
it's the first ever rally for them. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Love to see that. Well, yeah, definitely hope to see more of that out there. That's really killer.
I did the podium interview with him, and he pretty much just said, he's like, "Oh, I know where all my money's going now." He's like,
we hooked him. Yes. That's what I love to see. Love to hear that. That's brilliant. Switching over to the top three in the... actually, no, I'm going to skip to open two-wheel drive because we got to talk about number 845, Sean McDonald and Jonathan Canis. In their 96 Civic, they ended up 4th overall in that damn thing?
There's actually an amazing story there. 2 years ago was his first rally ever, which was Sno Drift, and he's from the town of Atlanta. Atlanta is super, super small, Atlanta, Michigan. But yeah, he built this car, probably took him 2 or 3 years. Built a really nice, I think it's over 250 horsepower Honda motor in a Civic. Still fits in the group, what was previously Group 2, now open two-wheel drive. Saved up the money, got some AL34 tires, and he just knows these roads, and he's just silly fast. He's been waiting his entire life to compete there, and 2 years ago he did it. And just before the end of the first night, I think he was 2nd overall. Not in two-wheel drive, 2nd overall in the Sno Drift National.
Last year,
Great.
wow.
Wow.
Yeah, 2 years ago. He ended up stuffing it in a snowbank for 9 minutes, and then still came back and won the national against all the national cars. So then he had moved on and went to do 100-acre wood. Had horrible luck there. Went to Ohio, had horrible luck, and pretty much had to cash out and recover. This is his first event back. Brand new co-driver. Like I said, Sean, great guy. He has the Punisher on the hood of the car. He's the hometown guy. Comes out, smokes everybody first night, but rookie co-driver, a little excited. Checks him in 5 minutes early at the first.
Oh!
They didn't know anything about it, so they got a 5-minute penalty going into the second day. I'm still not sure if they knew when they started, but he tells me, he's like, yeah, he goes, I got that back on the first stage.
Oh!
But, wow, that's
incredibly
awesome.
Fast, and even, you know, a 250 horsepower Civic, you can hear that sucker coming through the woods, and he knows how to use snowbanks. It's just amazing to watch him drive, because God knows when you're driving a two-wheel drive car on snow and ice, if you hit the brakes, it does nothing. If you hit the steering, it does nothing. If you hit the gas, it does nothing. But still, this guy drives faster than, well, what'd you say, 4th overall?
Yeah.
He's faster than 90% of the Subarus out there in a two-wheel drive Civic. So that's a really cool
VTEC
thing.
motors, when you string them out, they sound so great, don't they?
At first, you're kind of worried. You're like, what is this coming through the woods?
Yeah, that's awesome stuff. Second in open two-wheel drive, and yet, you know, a little bit farther down the list. Well, you know, 7th overall, not bad. Brad Morris and Doug Nagy, I think you pronounce that. They're in a Mitsubishi Lancer.
Yep. And Doug Nagy is world-renowned rally builder out of Los Angeles or somewhere out there. He owns Streetwise Motorsports.
Streetwise, I heard of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually built this car. It was the first event on the car. It's a Mitsubishi Lancer. But for years, Brad Morris out of the Carolinas, he's ran a Group 5 Lancer, which was like 300 horsepower. And speaking with him, he said, well, the actual chassis was getting worn and it was getting old. So he said it was time for a new one. So they had this built up, and they still hadn't even put a race motor in it. So this event they had, at first he told me 140 horsepower, and the next time I talked to him it was 145, and I think at the final podium he told me 150. I'm like, man, that thing's getting broken in well.
Love it. It's like a fish story. Great. Love it.
Yep. Gets bigger every time you tell it.
Mm-hmm. And in third place in open two-wheel drive is Colin Robinson, Ricardo Gonzalez. In 2011, they're part of the Honda Performance Development Team in the CRZ. Now, is this the KRZ, the one with the K-swap?
Yep. And
God, that thing sounds great.
They, to fix their body damage from Ojibwe,
which is a big panels. Off, by the way. I was there.
Yep, I was actually the car behind him. But, yeah, they covered the car in charcoal paint, or chalkboard paint. So
chalkboard? Huh.
Yeah. So at the expose, they just put chalk up on the windshield, on the hood of the car, and anybody who wanted to write on it could. Most of it wasn't fit for print, and the spectators were actually surprised when he took the start line. They're like, they left that on there, and it's like, no, you wrote it on there, and he's gonna. Most of it was there at the finish, so that was really cool.
I would say it would have been even worse if it was end of rally party night and that car was needing a livery.
That'd be pretty cool. Maybe we'll do that at 100 Acre Wood if he shows up. It should be a little bit warmer there. I'm praying.
Right? Yes, I will pray with you because I'll be at that one. So, well, great job by them making it to the finish. Again, challenging rally. Love the sound of that car too. Moving over to the naturally aspirated four-wheel drives, we have John Kramer and Jason Smith ended up topping the podium there.
Yep, the heavy metal crew. Their hashtag is Dents Before Dishonor. So
I like it.
They've got that thing pegged out. Even every start line, they're just revving it out. And you always expect to see them on the podium. I actually expected them to be on the overall podium, but they got stuck in a snowbank for an extended amount of time. And the funny thing was they were so down and out. They were having a beer at the banquet, eating their dinner, and they didn't even look up when we called for the podiums. And somebody had to go back inside the building and say, "Hey guys, you guys won. You might want to come outside."
I can say that's not the first time I've seen that happen. For sure. And then it was, I think it was husband-wife team, the Engels, ended up in second in naturally aspirated four-wheel drive.
That was actually father-daughter.
Oh, father-daughter.
That was her first time crow driving, but yeah, Mike Engel, and he's supported by Understeer R&D out of Jackson, and amazing car. He's got a couple of them. He keeps putting dents in them, so he rotates his stock. And this car used to be a metallic yellow. Now it's got a metallic copper wrap on it. It looks just like a brand new penny, so it's pretty sharp.
And then third in that naturally aspirated four-wheel drive, Jordan, was it Loescher? Is that how you say it? And Thomas Addison?
And Jordan Locker. Yeah. That was actually a really cool story because we had my little brother Elwood. He had one of his fellow competitors from off-road with Lucas Oil Series out of Crandon and Bark River. He was helping us out this weekend, and just before the event, he's always looking to buy a rally car, and he's always on Craigslist. Well, he found this car on Craigslist the day of the event. We're like, and what it said was, boyfriend got arrested. We need bail money. Just built this rally car. Somebody please buy it now. $4,000. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure he didn't go to jail because his car is at Park Expose, but so I went and chased him down, and he said, yeah, his best buddy that couldn't come to the event thought it was a good idea to post his car for sale while he was out on recce. So that was the other kicker, was he used his real phone number in the ad. So his
Oh
phone,
no!
as he's doing recce, everybody wants to buy this Subaru rally car for $4,000. So for those guys to have a clean event, same thing, they ended up pulling out a lot of two-wheel drive cars and the finish on the national podium, their first event. Just amazing. But that's snowdrift, and like I said in the beginning, slow is fast, and makes you wonder, if they hadn't pulled out other cars or spent time in the snowbank, they very well could have won their class, first tryout.
Sounds like they had a lot of fun. And then finishing up on the national side, we had number 256, Robert Sanders and Mikey Mettettle, I guess, in their little Fiesta ST. So, limited two-wheel drive, that is mostly stock.
And these two guys, that you're going to love to meet these guys. This is a brand new build. Brian Thompson of TRF, Thompson Race Fabrication, built them this car. He just finished it 2 weeks ago. It's a Fiesta ST, I believe. But I met him right before we did the awards, and the guy's name is Mikey Mettettle. And they said, just remember, you met a tall guy.
Well, you obviously didn't forget. That's awesome.
But there's some bigger gentlemen, and they're, I won't say jolly old farts, but they're probably not listening anyways. But
it's all good.
Really nice guys. They're going to be hopefully a good asset to the rally community for a few years to come. So
this was their first rally as well?
Yep.
Awesome. So a new build, first rally, and once again, hooked.
Yep.
Awesome. Awesome to hear that.
Oh, man.
All right, well, we're going to move on to some of the regional results, which, so it's kind of different this year, right? You've got regionals aren't each individual day. They now decided to make the regional both days, since most regional people tend to enter both days anyways. What's your thoughts on kind of this regional change? Because you're a person that normally enters in as a regional competitor.
Yeah, at first I hated it, and then I had it explained to me.
I mean, you got the restart rule, just like nationals, right?
Yeah. One of the things that has always helped me out, and it helps out some regional guys, is if you have a bad luck on Friday, okay, regroup, come back Saturday, and you get a clean slate. Well, we also argue about the Super Rally rule, saying, no, you got to complete all the stages. So it kind of works both ways, and after it was explained to me, yeah, I think I like it now.
A convert.
Makes it easier for the organizers, makes it easier for results.
It does.
And maybe adds a little bit more legend to the regional rallies. I'm sitting here looking at some trophies on my wall, and yeah, there's a lot of events where I got the first night or I got the second day, but I didn't get both of them.
Yep.
Now you're going to have stringing together one solid event to get that trophy. So I think it'll mean a little bit more.
I mean, it helps push consistency over just a burst in one day, right?
The only thing that concerned me was the way the rule was written. The regional rally can be up to 100% of the distance of the national. And that's what spooked me is I know a lot of the events up in Canada, their regional rallies finish 2 to 3 stages before the national rally does. And
right.
And I didn't like the possibility of that. So that's why I protested it right away. And they said, well, everybody's going to do 100% for now. And I'm like, okay, as long as it stays that way, I'll be fine. But I don't like.
I get it. You're paying for stage miles, and you want to get as many as you potentially can get, provided you finish.
I've seen so far all the supplemental regulations for the events so far in the U.S. for 2019 look great. So I can talk about rhetorical questions, or I can just put my thumb up and say this works, and hopefully it keeps working in the future. So cool.
So again, similar with the regionals, we don't have really a separate award for open four-wheel drive, and really there weren't very many regional open four-wheel drives. So overall, in the regional results, we had number 887, a naturally aspirated four-wheel drive car, the 2.5 RS of Jimmy Pelizzari and Kate Stevens coming out on top there.
Yep, great team. Jimmy Pelizzari, he's actually a writer at Auto Week magazine.
Oh, that's where I recognize the name. I knew I recognized it somewhere.
Yep. And then Kate is his girlfriend, and she's actually a chemistry teacher in inner city Detroit. She works in a pretty rough neighborhood, but so that's how they relax, is go riding rally cars. And Jimmy, we've been racing together for a lot of years, and he actually had a Mazda 323 GTX, the old light little four-wheel drive car.
We've got a couple of those out west, and they're unfortunately rare, but they're a cool car.
Yeah, the problem he had was he was getting faster and faster, and the faster you went, the faster you would explode the transmissions. So it was like, man, I was really good for 75% of that rally, but he just couldn't get to the finish, and he bit the bullet and built a Subaru, and he's been getting faster and faster. Now he's got his first overall win, and major props to those two. There's not a scratch on the car.
That's the way to do it. Like I said, slow is fast, keeping it out of the snowbanks, as you said, and a great result for those two. Yeah, way to go, Jimmy. Love his support of Rally and them having it in the Auto Week. That's really cool, and having his having his girlfriend out there, that's pretty cool. Hopefully she's hooked on it as well.
Yep, she's been co-driving for a few years, so she's fully committed.
Second overall, the number 440 Outback Sport little Impreza by Jacob Bryant and Steven Stewart.
Yep, this was actually Fervor, Fervor Rally Sport. Really cool team. You might have seen pictures, but these guys actually had huge cardboard cutouts of their faces.
I did see this picture, yes.
And then I also seen a picture of their service crew standing out in a snowbank when it was 18 below at night. It must have been after the event, but stripped down in their boxer shorts, holding these humongous faces. Great guys, great personality. Being the Impreza Outback Sport, not a ton of horsepower, but obviously showing a ton of driver skill by putting it on the box and on the snow and ice, where skill overcomes horsepower every time. So that's really cool for those guys.
And then third in the overall ended up being the open four-wheel drive car, the only one kind of in the regionals there, the 92 Mitsubishi Eclipse of Eric Carlson and Camille Carlson.
And that's another father-daughter team. Eric Carlson was actually a co-driver for 25 years, and his daughter goes to a Michigan Tech University, and then his son Jacob actually is the co-driver of the Tower City Rabbit with Adam Van Dam.
Oh yeah, okay.
But this Mitsubishi Eclipse, this is actually Doug Shepard's championship car from back in the 90s. It has a lizard wrap on it.
No shit, really?
Oh yes, that one, yeah.
Yeah.
Before that, actually had a cheetah wrap. It looked like it was a 3D cheetah. So this car has a ton of history. He's a very happy guy. He's always happy, but he's never been really super fast. Like I said, he was a co-driver for 25 years. And now that he's driving, he's slowly building it up, and he started a little farther down in the pack, and he was using a couple expletives at one of the ATCs, but he's like, these two-wheel drive cars are getting in my way and holding up the show. He's like, I can go faster, but they won't move. So
well,
for him
maybe he'll get seated a little bit farther up than next time around.
Yep. And that's part of snowdrift, keep it clean and move your way up.
That's exactly it, man. So a few more of the regionals we'll go through here. Obviously, naturally aspirated four-wheel drive. We already had the first two there were the top two in the overall. Third was number 221, the 2002 Outback Sport, another one of those. But Mariana Usher and Emily Schumacher.
Yep, and Mariana, she previously Mariana Langosh, she got married to Nathan Usher in the off season. They had a really cool wedding with all the rally people around. They actually had a champagne spray on top of their rally car.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, I saw the pictures of that. That was pretty cool.
But yeah, they built her a wagon. This was her second snowdrift with it. She also did Central UP Rally. She had an interesting event. I know the first day she was trying to work on her handbrake turns to get around the corner, and every time she pulled the handbrake, she'd go straight headlong into the snowbank. And she admitted she actually had it in reverse before she hit the snowbank because she kept doing it so many times. So,
She's like, yep, this is what's coming.
learning how to work through the understeer.
Yeah.
Now, did she make snowdrift cookies for everybody? Because she made cookies for everybody at Namaji.
Yes, she did.
That's awesome. Well, I must say, near and dear to your heart must be the winner of the Open Two-Wheel Drive, because it was Kevin Schmidt and Jay Anderson in the number 174 1986 Mazda RX-7. You got to be happy to see another RX-7 up there on the top of the podium.
Yeah, I got a note from him today. He goes, "Did you do Namaji?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he said, "Is that part of the 2019 championship or the 2018?" I was like, "Well, it's 2019." He goes, "So 2 RX-7s are on top of the Open Two-Wheel Drive Regional Championships right now?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but there's a Tiburon in there too." So, but he was very excited. He's like, "Do you know what this means?"
Now, if only there'd be some Mazda contingency for you guys.
Yeah, we're gonna see if we can work our way through that. We've been trying to encourage it as much as possible with Mazda Motorsports, and Mazda's had that contingency for over 30 years, and to not have it this year, it's kind of disappointing. But if we want to have value, we're going to create value. So if Mazda rally drivers want to have contingency, we're going to have to let Mazda Motorsports know that we need them. So fingers crossed.
And then, of course, second to that Open Two-Wheel Drive is, again, you mentioned it earlier, that Jeep Cherokee, number 10. They made it not only to the finish, but they made it to the Open Two-Wheel Drive podium for regional.
Yep, Mike Brzezicki, I believe his name is.
Congratulations to those guys. And then I guess we had definitely more in the limited two-wheel drive class in the regionals. Number 305. Now, this is actually very impressive. Fourth in regional overall was the limited two-wheel drive. So get that. Not just a two-wheel drive car, but a limited two-wheel drive car was fourth overall. Granted, of the regionals, but still, that's pretty damn cool. Is the BRZ of Santiago Iglesias and Robert Castle. What a freaking good job by those guys.
And it was really fun. One of the things I got to enjoy, I think this was my first time spectating in 4 or 5 years at least, but I got to work up on a start line, and I was taking notes, but I was watching everybody's rear tires and the front tires, seeing how their differentials worked, and yeah, that was pretty cool. You see a guy just take off, and he's racing against four-wheel drive cars, and he's got one little tire back there spinning, and to keep it under control and be able to finish fourth overall in a rally with one-wheel drive, yeah, that's amazing.
Well, way to go, Santiago and Robert. Great job. And then, of course, finishing first in limited two-wheel drive. Second to them was number 772 and fifth overall, also doing very well. 2015 Honda Fit, Stephen Olana and Zach File, I guess you'd say that. Now, is this also an HPD car?
Yep.
Yeah,
and
good old Honda Performance Development. Those guys know how to finish.
I actually have a really cool video, and I'll post it up, but I didn't want to post it until I knew I had really good Wi-Fi. But these guys, I believe that car even has a CVT in it, but they take off from the super special start, and it's so ridiculously slow, and they're bouncing on the rev limiter that these two guys are bouncing up and down in their belts, just trying to be silly, kind of like the night at the Roxbury guys with the head bob. Just bouncing up and down because this car is screaming and it's bouncing. Those guys just had fun all weekend. Every time I interviewed them, they were all smiles. So Yeah, you don't need 300 horsepower and 4-wheel drive to have fun in rally. It is what you make it.
Third in the limited two-wheel drive, number 85, the 87 VW Golf, Elwood and Marty.
Your boys, Al.
Yeah, Elwood Nimi Jr. And I just found this out the other day. It's not Pasuelo, it's Pasuelo.
Pasuelo.
I've been pronouncing his name wrong for 3 years, and he was my crew chief. But yeah.
Well, welcome to the world of media where people end up correcting you all the time.
But yeah, I just found out a couple minutes before we went on air that I'm not going to talk to my brother anymore. He might be selling his car.
What?
Well, the thing is half of our team runs short course off road, which is
Sure.
buggies, trucks, and all that. And he got a new super buggy chassis, which is like 220 horsepower and all this good stuff. And he just needs a little bit more money to get it ready for testing at Spring Crandon. And he's like, well, this guy offered me a lot of money for the Volkswagen. And I'm like, you try to mentor little brothers, but sometimes they just don't. But yeah, Elwood, he's a 3-tour veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan. And while he was over there was when I first started my rally career. And he would send me messages and he'd say, oh, go do that Sno Drift rally. And he goes, I'll send you the entry money. Just go do it. And I'm not doing Sno Drift. I'm not doing Sno Drift. So when he came back and he said, well, I'm going to get a rally car and I'll go do it. And I'm like, you go right ahead. I said, I'm not coming to help you. So they had a rough event. They really wanted to set the world on fire, but they also knew they were rookies and they had to be patient. And of course, Al's in the background always telling them, slow is fast, slow is fast. I talking with Marty after the event, he's like, I don't know what's up with Elwood, but he wants to win every spectator area.
Doesn't everybody? I mean, come on. It's a spectator area.
They got a real good series of photos from Turbo Terra where they just come flying into this snowbank headlong and they get the car stuck and Marty gets out and he's running down the course. And some of these retired service crew guys that we used to know, that they worked with Jimmy Pellizzari probably 5 years ago. They came running and they jumped over the snowbank and one guy bit it and he went face first into the road, and they picked the car up and they threw the car back on the road. And Marty had to come running back, and it's just classic Sno Drift. And the pictures turned out really cool. And they ended up, just like I told you in the beginning, they lost 6 or 7 minutes, and they finished in third in class and right about 6 or 7 minutes out of first.
A couple other shout outs I want to know how they did. Speaking of kind of the veterans kind of thing, how did Phoenix Project with, was it Glenn Ray and Leo Hughes? How'd they do?
They had a rough event. They spent a lot of time here, there, and everywhere. I think they pulled out some teams. I don't think they had the results they wanted. I know the first night Leo said he was a lot faster than he was at the year previous. But Sno Drift has a way of biting you. Just when you get confident is when you're gonna screw up and get stuck. I think that was their situation. But they were all smiles all weekend, and good report for the Phoenix Project. Check it out.
Yeah, that's just a great crew there, and awesome part of the rally family, and love their whole thing they're doing with the Phoenix Project and supporting veterans and stuff. Another one, Amanda Skelly and. Was it Amanda Feistel? Oh, Amy, that's what it was, not Amanda, as a co-driver?
She was previously the chairman of the Sandblast Rally over on the East Coast. Amy was.
How did their event go?
Actually, one time they were leaving service, and I was doing interviews and such, and I turned around, and something didn't look quite right. Their rear brakes had locked up, and they were dragging their service tarp all the way across the control zone. So I went running and dove on their tarp and tried to drag it out from underneath the car, and luckily 2 other guys helped me. But the temperatures were so cold that the rear brake calipers had frozen shut while she was in service. So everything went to leave and the rear brakes were locked up. Other than that, I believe she drove to the event from down Detroit way, a few hours away. Drove to the event, competed. I think she had a crew of like 7 or 8 people. Always bringing in new blood. She's very, very good for Noble Star Rally team. Always getting new people involved, so that was really cool. But yeah, I don't think she had any incidents, and she ended up driving it home and putting it back in the garage.
That's
Now,
awesome. And she finished 4th in class, so congratulations on her.
yeah, and then there was I was watching out for Adam, of course, of your Tower City race team. He didn't have the best outing at Snowdrift, did he?
Yeah, we had a prime showdown. We were really excited to see it. It was the battle of front wheel drive versus rear wheel drive. One of our good friends, Shanti Witt, he's got a BMW. Did really well at LSPR, Central UP Rally. He's been getting faster and faster, and obviously Adam is Adam. He won Snowdrift first place overall nationally in two-wheel drive last year. It was kind of like his coming out party before he went on the entire tour last year, and so he was coming back to defend his home turf, and he just had a horrible day one. Ended up forgetting to put his hood pins in after checking on a radiator fan.
Oh no, the old hood pin issue.
In all, I think when he started the second day, he was down 10 minutes to Shanti. But then we're sitting at Expose, and it's 24 below, and Shanti's car shuts off right in the middle of Expose. And his crew scrambles right away, and they get the hood open, and they start going through everything. And they never did get it to restart. And what they believe happened was the fuel froze in the lines and in the fuel filter, and it burnt up the fuel pump. Just trying to push it, the pump was pushing that hard against the fuel. And I checked with him. He said he was running, I think, 92 or 93 octane. So the fuel shouldn't have froze, but it did. So that was kind of a horrible way to end his rally. Adam, it's Adam. He's a wizard on the snow and ice, and he's gotten away with it. The last 3 years, I was explaining to my little brother that he's had no impacts in the car. There hasn't been a dent. There hasn't been a broken anything. There's been a couple flat tires here and there, but I think I kind of jinxed him by saying that. And
Oops.
they tried to make up their 10 minutes lost on that first stage, and it just so happened to be one of the stages that I wrecked. And you go flying down a hill. It's a little bit windy down through a valley, and then it opens up into a clear cut, and you're doing a long right 6, maybe tightens a little bit through this clear cut, and he just never lifted, and the car started sliding. And the joke I always tease Adam is, well, he's only got 85 horsepower, so every single YouTube video you've ever seen of him, he never lifts. 85 horsepower, you don't have the horsepower, you can't lift. So that's the way he drove, was he just keeps the right foot planted and just fluctuates with the left foot. And this corner he lifted, and it bit him, and he went off.
Bummer.
And there was a stump hiding in the clear cut, and it just destroyed the entire front end of the car. And the car is toast. It is not salvageable. The entire chassis is done. So.
Oh no, I'm quite sad. I mean, I've sat alongside Adam in that car. That's a little bit sad, that is.
Yeah, and that car actually raced back in the 90s with his aunt and uncle driving it, and it's just, she was a good girl, but her time came, and so moment of silence for Rabbit.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Rabbit. Well, Al, a crazy but awesome event, super cold, but everything that is Snowdrift. If there's one thing that you're going to take away from this event, what is it?
The biggest thing was being asked to help out the ARA media team. It's something, a guy has dreams and aspirations in life, and this wasn't one of them. But once being asked, I was like, wow, this is a really cool opportunity. And if I get asked to do it again, most definitely I'll do it. Yes, I'll be stressed. Yes, I'll panic. But the opportunity to work with some of the best guys in the world, working with rally drivers, and even if I don't know them, you know, with the rally community, you talk with somebody for 3 minutes and they turn into your brother. They're your family.
Mm-hmm.
And working with media, this was my first time being media. So yeah, this event will always hold a little special spot in my heart. So that's what I'm going to take away from this one.
Well, thanks for doing that, Al.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we recruited you. You were the perfect pick. And I'm sorry that we didn't get to see the live streams, but yet you still got to interact with everybody and, you know, get the stories and do all the other media stuffs that are required, and do the podium stuff, which, you know, that's its own stress and yet fun to do. And again, congratulations on doing a good job for what you were able to do, especially with those conditions. That's not easy stuff. So thanks very much, and thanks for being on our podcast again to give us a rundown of the Sno Drift Rally. When are we going to see you out again?
I'm ecstatic. I am registered, paid, have lodging squared away. We're going to be still staying at the Williams Auto Racing compound down in Missouri for 100-acre wood. I have Zach Rondo in the right seat. We worked together for a Ojibwe last year. He's excited. He was our Sisu Spirit Award at LSPR for destroying his brand new rally car. We're hoping we don't do that with my car.
He can destroy his car all he wants, but not your car. Awesome.
Guys, so that's where I'll be next. It's looking like it's going to be a really big turnout right now. I think there's 40 cars. I'm expecting 30 to 40 more. So I'm predicting 75 cars will take the start.
Is this the farthest away event you've been to then?
Yep, I've done Michigan and Minnesota, and now we're going to go down to Missouri. So I'm hoping for 70s and sunny. Maybe we'll bring. We'll leave the Speedo at home, but
I don't want to see you in a Speedo, man.
What we've got to do, Mike, before we get off the subject of snowdrift totally, is we've got to acknowledge the fans for getting out there in sub-zero temperatures, supporting everybody at the stages. I mean, I've seen the great photographs from Tedrick Mealy of Bonfire Rally. I mean, superb atmospheric photographs there. And there was a video of one of the spectator stages. Is the one in a quarry or something? And there's fans are lining the
entire edge of that thing.
Yeah, the entire edge of that thing. It's absolutely fantastic. Rally fans are incredible to go out in that temperature and watch us race cars. I mean, fantastic guys, fantastic fans.
Yeah, it was really cool. I went to a spectator or an unofficial spectator spot with my media pass, and went to spin my truck around and got it stuck in the middle of the road, kind of like in a little Austin Powers deal where I had a bank in front of me and a bank behind me. And some spectators came and hooked up their truck and pulled me out and told them to hop in the back of the truck, and I drove them right up to the front of the banner tape for helping me out. And I got there early enough, and I was able to get to the inside of the hairpin corner. And I got there, and there was a bunch of retired rally drivers there that I'd competed with earlier in my career. And they're like, "Hey, how's it going, Al?" It's like, "Whoa, what are you guys doing here?" Just completely random. So that was really cool. And of course, they had their fires going, and they had coolers with sausages and jerky and all the fixings. So when I was out there by myself for a few hours, I pulled through. I had the heart of a champion.
There you go. Again, Snowdrift lived up to everything that makes it what it is. It is a special event, braving all conditions. And yeah, congratulations to everybody that just made it to the end. And even those that didn't. Such a challenging event, and it's just so cool that there's so many that go out there and experience it. I've got to get it on my calendar at some point. Couldn't make it happen this year, but I couldn't think of a better person that was able to be there in my stead. So I'm glad you were there and had some fun, and we will see you at 100 Acre Wood.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right. See you later, Al.
Yep.
Well, thanks again, Al Dantes Jr., for being on the show and talking about the Sno Drift Rally. But we're going to move on, and Ian and I are going to talk about another event that happened this last weekend, and it is the Monte Carlo Rally. First event of the WRC for 2019, and it was everything I think we expected it to be. You know, drier conditions, I guess, but still some snow on the top. What a close finish, though. Man, that was freaking spectacular.
Yep, this is the closest Monty finish ever, I believe. They said Ogier wins for the 7th time, and he beat Neuville by 2.2 seconds. So, yeah, I mean, that's... It was, and it went right, basically it went right down to the wire, didn't it? Because at the end of, at the start of the final stage, stage 16, Ogier had a lead of 4 tenths of a second over Neuville.
4 tenths. Just 4 tenths.
Just 4 tenths, because he claimed he had a throttle response problem that he'd had issues with the car on Sunday morning. So, yeah, I don't know whether that was really happened or whether Ogier was actually playing mind games with Neuville. But, yeah, it went from 4 tenths of a second at the start of the final stage to like 2.2 second win for Ogier at the end of the event. So, yeah, it was an exciting final stage to watch.
You know, I was definitely glued to it. I wish I could have seen a little bit more of the onboards of the Neuville and Ogier, because those were the two we were all wanting to watch, and what was going on for the battle for third place. So there's still a pretty close battle there, but it is Monty. It's got so many challenging things. As they always say, regardless of what tire you choose, it's going to be the wrong one.
Yeah. And I mean, the perfect example of that was right at the very start of the event, stage 1. Neuville went out on all super softs, didn't he? Whereas everybody else had studded tires, or they had a mix of studded and super soft. He went out on all round super softs, and he finished stage 1 16 seconds behind Ogier. Now, if he'd gone with studded tires or a mix of studs and super softs, what if that gap to Ogier had only been 10 seconds or 5 seconds? You know, the result would have been the result could have been reversed at the end of the event. Neuville could have won it just because he'd tried to be brave with his tires on the first stage. I mean, tire choice.
True, it very well could have been that, but it's also about how you manage those tires too, and I think that the studs were the right choice because there was snow on top on that first stage, right? There's definitely these icy patches, and what happens is the studs wear off.
Yeah.
So you start out in the dry, and some of your studs are going to wear off just right at the beginning before you even get to the snow. Then as you go over the top of the coal, you're going to lose more studs, and essentially as you're coming down the back side of it, you don't have that many studs left. So and then the preceding stage after that, you're almost back to being a soft tire anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with them shedding so many studs as they do, it was kind of more the obvious choice in this case. It was actually rather shocking that Neuville took that gamble, but that's also part of Monty.
Yeah.
You don't win unless you gamble.
True.
If everybody chooses the same thing all the time, it's very hard to win that rally. And, one of the best at that is Sebastian Loeb, who, ended up running in third place for a long time because of tire choice, and taking the risks when he needed to. Just a brilliant drive by, gosh, you could almost call him the old man now, but I shouldn't say that because he's my age. But, that experience that Loeb has, and such little experience in that car.
Yeah.
That was so spectacular to see him do so well in the Hyundai.
And didn't he make a point of like telling everybody in the interviews? You know, they asked him, it's like, how much experience have you got in this car? And he said, oh, one test session, and that's about it. So
and by the way, just returned back from Dakar.
yeah,
Had to deal with a bit of jet lag. So also you have to think about, Daniel's not the smallest guy anymore. That's a little bit different too.
I had to chuckle, and I bet you chuckled too. Did you? You must have seen that picture of Daniel Elena checking the tire pressures on one of the. And there he's got a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. And, we talk with co-drivers, and we talk to people like Rhiannon and Alex, and they are huge on the fitness regime of co-drivers. And there's this guy, a quality co-driver, and with a multiple world champion alongside him, and he's there got a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and his racing suit looks like it's about to burst.
I guess let's kind of go through the teams a little bit.
Yeah.
Toyota, I think that car was the most dominant car, regardless of Ogier winning.
Mm-hmm.
Ogier, we knew, was going to probably win this event.
Yeah.
Home rally.
Yeah.
If there's anybody that can adapt to the changing conditions and make the right tire choices, it's going to be him. But as far as just all-out performance of a vehicle, I think that Toyota was on top.
Yep, I'm not going to disagree with you there, because Tanak, he won 6 stages in a row from Saturday afternoon through till Sunday morning, didn't he? He was fastest on 6 stages in a row. I mean, there's another example of how things could have been different. He broke a wheel rim on Saturday, didn't he? And that cost him 2.5 minutes to change that. Yeah. So
it's like his rally, you think, is done at that point.
Yeah.
Still is able to come back and get a podium.
Yeah. So I mean, if he hadn't had that incident with the wheel, he could have won. I mean, that's Monte Carlo for you. To finish first you've got to finish, and all that, the old cliches. But yeah, sure. Tanak did great, and then Meek as well. Chris Meek had a great performance, didn't he?
He did. Granted, he had issues also with the the wheels. So if there's a weak point, they need to maybe address that. But again, Monte's just hard. You take the risks on the cuts and things like that, and stuff happens. Yeah. So maybe it isn't a specific weakness. They'll look at that. But but when he was on it, the thing is he didn't seem stressed. He seemed relaxed. He seemed, and when he's relaxed, he is probably the fastest driver out there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, for sure. I mean, he certainly seemed very relaxed at some of those end stage interviews, especially at the power stage. I mean, he was really, really pleased with himself there, wasn't he?
But going back to Tanak, he was the driver of the rally for me.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yes,
to come back like he did, to stay focused, not get rattled.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy to watch out for this championship, I think.
Oh, I would like to disagree with you, but I can't. I think we both agree that I think it's his title to lose this year. I really do. But well, you can remind me about that, what I'm saying there in December, when I'm either right or wrong.
Fair point. So let's move on and talk about. So we talked about Meek. We talked about Tanak.
What about Latvala?
Latvala, yeah.
Go ahead. An enigmatic running of Monte Carlo for him, I think. I mean, he was battling with Loeb for most of the event, wasn't he? What was that, for fifth or sixth? Was it?
Yeah, and I don't know.
Yeah, fifth. Yeah. Fourth and fifth.
He didn't have any major issues.
No, but he said that he had. Did he have an incident with the car in a testing session? And he said this at the end of the event and the finish line.
Yeah, that kind of thrown him off. But
yeah,
the thing is, he had said he'd had the car set too soft for himself, mm-hmm. and then he said it was set too firm.
Too hard. And,
he's his own worst enemy.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And as much as I adore Latvala, he is so good with fans, and he's so passionate about the sport. he gets in his own head, and I don't see him as ever becoming champion.
No.
I think he's still a great support driver. I think he'll give good points to the team overall. He's just got to get out of his own head.
Yeah. He did seem fairly honest and held his hands up at the end there and said, "Yeah, it was my fault."
Yep.
So he did seem a bit more relaxed. He was certainly more relaxed than he could have been. We've seen him a lot tighter than that.
Yeah.
So maybe he's got a new approach this year. We'll see.
Yep, we'll definitely see how that turns out for him. Like I said, Meek's still doing well enough. Let's talk about Hyundai real quick. Or actually, let's go over Citroen. So we know Ogier won, his first time in that Citroen. But we know the Citroen's good on tarmac, so it'll be interesting to see it on other surfaces. But yeah, if there's anybody that's going to get the most out of that car, it's Ogier's like Loeb. Hate to say it, but they're going to get the most out of it. What happened to Lappy?
Yeah, I was trying to find out. What did happen to Lappy? He was there. He seemed fairly happy at the end of the first day, but what did happen to him? He just disappeared.
He did have a mechanical issue. I'm trying to remember what it was. I would have thought he would have come back under, restart rules. And
or maybe he didn't finish on Saturday because you couldn't Super Rally on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
That's a rule about Monte Carlo. You can't Super Rally on Sunday. Apparently, it's to do with space restriction, space limitations outside the Royal Palace or the casino or wherever they have the presentations at the end. Yeah.
Okay. Fair point
there. Yeah, because we were very down on World Rally cars. I felt for the final stage.
Yeah.
It seemed like the final stage, certainly on the TV coverage, was dominated by the WRC 2 Pro cars.
We'll move on and talk about Hyundai real quick. Thierry Neuville coming up second, 2.2 seconds just shy, but he was eaten up that time from Ogier throughout the day until that final stage. On that final day, there was 4 stages, right? So 3 stages and then the power stage. There is no service. There is no tire chain, there's no tire fitting zone. You run what you brung.
Yep.
So you ain't got nothing else to go with you. And that's kind of the stress of these Sundays that they do now, right? It's really compact.
Yep.
They run it all together, and you got to be, when it's that tight, you've got to push as hard as you can, yet conserve at the same time. And it makes it pretty damn challenging. So great job by Neuville. Again, it didn't seem like he was rattled by Ogier. 2.2 seconds, that's nothing.
Yep.
I mean, these two basically are hammer and tongs right at it. Wow. Brilliant job by him.
Yep.
And he didn't seem upset about it. He went and congratulated Ogier. Good sportsmanship. The Hyundai's right there with the Citroen in performance, obviously. I think maybe the Hyundai probably has more performance when it's going to come to gravel, but we'll see. And we'll see also what Loeb does when it comes to helping make that car better.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. Yep. Loeb was certainly. I think he surprised me a little bit. Loeb did with his performances. I was thinking maybe he would be a little bit jet lagged, but no. I mean, he solid performance for him. I mean, 2 stage wins on Saturday, and we were 4th overall. So yeah, you can't complain there. I mean, the only dark spot with Hyundai, of course, was Mickelson clouting a wall and ripping a wheel off his car on Saturday.
Oh, man. I mean, and you saw it happen. I know I watched it, and he clouted that wall. I mean, it should have been flat. It should have been should have put in more of a turn in there in his notes. And his own mistake, he admitted to it, but I mean, he was just done right there. And he had a good rally going behind him, but I'm starting to wonder about Mickelson. I mean, he shows these moments of brilliance, but keeps making like little stupid mistakes like this. I don't know. We'll see how it goes throughout the rest of the season, but it didn't really help the point situation for Hyundai as a team.
No, but it's early days yet, and Monte Carlo is a law unto itself, and of course then we're next up is Sweden, and that's a law unto itself. So it's going to be a few rallies yet before we can start to see how the situation is, how the season is going to play out. So
That's very true, very true. The first
mhm.
ones are definitely special. Monte,
Yeah,
Sweden, the high and dry of Mexico. So,
yeah. But however badly we think that was, the real letdown for the event for everybody, I think it must have been M Sport.
oh,
Right,
painful, followed by
right
more
from the
painful.
yeah, right from the get-go. What was it? Half a dozen corners into stage one. Timo Sunanen goes straight on. Yeah, and Pontus Tiedemann, he had a wishbone failure on Friday, so he ended up super rallying on for the rest of the event. And then that was that huge crash of Elvin Evans on the Saturday, where he was going through a slightly windy piece of road that had a steep drop off with trees on one side, and he just kind of like clipped the edge of the tarmac where the slope was falling away,
Yeah, it just
and
kind of sucked him
couldn't
down. Yeah,
sucked him
couldn't get
down,
back
couldn't
on.
get back on.
I mean, Tanak almost went off in the same spot, right?
Yeah.
There's the footage of that. You could see how just dangerous that corner was. There's a little bit of black ice, I guess, and if your car was just 2 inches the wrong way in that spot, you were going to probably end up just like Evans. And it was unfortunate for him. He was definitely doing some good stage times on Saturday on that day. And I was expecting him to start moving up through the field, and as he got more comfortable. It didn't happen, and he went off, and feel bad for him. But yeah, that made M Sport not have a very good weekend.
Well, the real bright spot for M Sport, of course, was WRC2 Pro, where Gus Greensmith won quite easily, really.
That's true. Great job by WRC2 Pro. And throw something in there. We had Antoine Lestage was the gravel crew for Gus Greensmith. So we must say it was North America that helped Gus Greensmith win the WRC2 Monte Carlo 2019. There we go.
There you go.
We'll throw that out there.
There's our link to there's the open paddock link to the Monte Carlo result. Yeah. We only just a few weeks ago did we talk to Antoine Lestage about this. So.
Indeed, and super excited that he's able to help that team out and go, global and do more stuff. Well, heck, just say it right now. Coming up for Personage, which is going to be coming up this weekend. Him and Alan Ockwell are going to be driving an older Subaru, but they got to drive with. Oh gosh, what is it? Subi Works or something like that.
Swap Shop.
Swap Shop, that's what it is.
That's it. Yeah.
And they, Subaru Parts Shop, and they have a Subaru they're going to be entering into Personage. So, yay! Congratulations to them. Great to see them back out doing some rallying. So
yeah, and one guy we should really mention, of course, is Kalle Rovanperä, who also was competing in WRC2, and he. Quite amazingly crashed off on stage one in the exact same location as Timo Sunanen.
Well, not only did he crash off at the same spot, he went into the back of Timo Sunanen and broke his lights and for those night stages. And when he did get back going again.
Yes, yeah.
Very, very slowly with no lights in the dark of Monte Carlo.
I mean, it's like I was watching the guys through the in-car footage of the coverage that those driving lights give you on a stage. It's daylight. It's absolutely incredible. And to drive on like what he was driving, what Rovanperä was driving on, which was probably just one headlight. I don't know looking at it, but yeah, incredible.
That's kind of just a quick wrap up of WRC Monte Carlo. I was just going to say, what did Monte Carlo teach us? For me, it just showed, once again, the top drivers from last year are still the top drivers going into this year. And I don't see anyone else challenging those three for the championship, let alone even a one-off event. Maybe Loeb could win one or something like that here, or maybe Mikkelsen, who's done well in Sweden before, or something like that. But it's pretty tough. I mean, Ogier, Tanak, and Neuville, They are tops right now, and I don't see how anyone can get within a mile of those guys.
No, I agree entirely. I mean, I've already hammered my colours to the wall and said that Tanak is going to win this year. But yeah, it's going to be it is going to be very tight, and those three could, when it comes to Australia, they could just be like separated by a handful of points, and winning that event is going to decide the world title. But yeah, it's very much business as usual right now. Some people have just moved to different car. Well, just one person's moved to a different car. So
Ian, any last words?
yes, if you'll let me plug something, yes, Scott Parrott and I are now officially Three Triangles Rally Sports, win the white Chevy truck, and we now have a social media presence. We are on both Facebook and Instagram. You can find us on Facebook as Three Triangles Rally Sport, and on Instagram as the number 3 and Triangles Rally, and that's all lowercase. Yep, we are making the foray into social media, so give us a like, give us a follow, and when you're out on stage, share your pictures with us. We'd love to see them.
Awesome. So 3 triangles. Hopefully you don't have to get the triangles out at
Well, we don't want. We've already got the triangles out too many times.
Exactly.
That is the reason why we have the name, basically. But hopefully, no more triangle usage this year.
Just for marketing purposes.
It's just for marketing purposes.
Awesome stuff. Again, want to thank Al Dantes Jr. for being on the show and talking about snowdrift. And one thing we mentioned just briefly earlier, there's some awesome photos by Tedrick Mealy Photography. He was the event photographer for ARA. If you want to see more of those photos, just Google Tedrick Mealy Photography or go to his website. That is www.tmealyphoto.com. So that's TMEALY photo.com. Amazing pictures from the event. Not just of the cars, but also of the people, the event environment, the bonfires, and the excitement. Tedrick really embodied everything in his imagery of what makes Snowdrift what it is. And it's just brilliant, just looking through the few photos he posted so far. He's still editing them and has more to go up. Just make sure you follow him on Facebook and on Instagram. Amazing imagery. So make sure you do that. He's also been an open paddock photographer, so yes, shameless plug. Anyways, that's the end of this week's show. Remember, you can subscribe to this show on Podbean, on iTunes, Google Podcasts, or search your favorite podcast app. We're also on all your popular social media platforms, and now offer our shows on YouTube as well, if you prefer to listen there. Please subscribe, tell a friend, give us a like, and a share. All that stuff really does help us out. It's a huge, huge help. I'm your host, Mike Shaw, for Ian Holmes. Thanks for listening, everybody.